very warm good morning on a cold winter day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here with us. And today we have the good fortune of having Mrs. Neelima Dalmia Adhar with us, and a psychologist, poetess, and as she interestingly calls herself, the Queen of Quirk. She has breathed life into all the characters that she has soulfully rendered. And the book in question here is The Secret Diary of Kasturba. The Secret Diary of Kasturba, and this is the third book that has been published. It was released and launched in New York last year and in New Delhi last month, in the last year as well. And the book talks about Kasturba, the mother of the nation, the so-called mother of the nation, and how she lived a life with the Mahatma, a person larger than life, but who made life one living hell for her. So we would be asking you a lot of questions about the book, ma'am. And like I told you, this is her third book. The first book was on her father, Father Dearest, The Times and Ages of R.K. Dalmia. And that book reveals a lot of secrets of the Dalmia clan. And let me tell you here that Neelima is the daughter of R.K. Dalmia. He was one of the founder industrialists of the nation, that we can say. And he gave a lot of infrastructure to our country, a lot of industries like textile and cement and chemicals and so on and so forth, you name it, and he did it. And her literary genes come from her mother. Her mother was Dinesh Nandini Dalmia. And she has authored around 40 books to her credit on Hindi literature. She was a poetess, she was a short story writer, and she started writing at the tender age. Her book was published at the age of 16. And her first story was Shabnam, which won the Saxaria Award. She has also been awarded with the highest civil honor in the country, that is the Padma Bhushan, in 2006 by the Government of India. And in 2009, the Government of India, or the Postal Department, also commemorated her with a stamp that was released in her name. So with a lineage such as this, Neelima, I don't think we expect less from you.
Oh God, that's a burden.
Yes, no, it is not. Her second book was The Merchants of Death, which again was based on the Marwari community, which on the outside looks a very religious and chaste community, but she has again delved deep into revealing the covers and revealing the secrets that lie deep within. And her third book, like I said, is Kasturba, The Secret Diary of Kasturba. And I would like to ask her that what are so many secrets? It's a fiction seen through Neelima's eyes, which is based on facts. And she has tried to bring out the atrocities of someone whom we call the Mahatma, the father of the nation, of the real man that he was within, and how Kasturba lived and died every day. And she tried to break the shackles that bound her. And Neelima has given in a lot of thought, a lot of research has gone into the building of this book. It has almost taken her 8 years to get it out.
That's right.
So, Neelima, it is a good fortune to have you.
Thank you.
And we'd like to steal some moments from your busy life,
yes, with
and
pleasure.
enrich our own with it. So the first question which comes to my mind, Neelima, is that you have gone against the man who the nation reveres as the father. And I mean, he is a name that is synonymous with India. So what gave you the guts to really, go down and delve deep and reveal this ordinary man beneath?
Okay, so thank you, Indore, and thank you, Indore Literature Fest, for inviting me here to share my views on this book, which, as Nidhi rightly says, is a gutsy book, because it is not every day and not everybody who would like to reveal the secrets and, in a way, delve into the darker side of the personality of the father of the nation. So I've always maintained that this is a story not of Mahatma Gandhi. This is a story of Mohandas the man. It is the story of Kasturba's husband and not the father of the nation. And the reason why I felt, well, for a start, that if you say that it was gutsy, I think that is part of my personality because I have inherited a whole lot of guts from my father. My father was a rule breaker. He broke every rule of man and God. He had an extremely flamboyant life and a very rebellious nature. He took up cudgels against the ruling party and the Prime Minister Nehru at his time. And I think a whole lot of that gutsiness I have inherited from my father. So from both my parents, this book I owe, or in fact all three of my books I owe to them because all three of them have labeled me the daredevil family chronicler. So the daredevil guts is inherited from my father and my DNA to write has come from my mother.
Okay, so Nilima, most of your books, I can say, have been really scandalous, haven't they?
Yes, in fact,
Yes.
some people have said that Scandal is her middle name.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Scandal is my middle name, but in the end, I'm not too bad, is it? All right. So, like, what was the reaction of the normal reader or the public when the books came into the market? And let me tell you that Kasturba is also a bestseller, ladies and gentlemen. Even though it was released last year, it's already on the bestseller list. So, what was the reaction?
well, for a
that you got
start,
from people?
the book has just been translated into Hindi about 2 months ago, and the fact that it has been commissioned to be translated into 4 more Indian languages itself tells you that the book has been very popular. And as far as what I was expecting, I don't know. I really didn't know what to expect out of it because there were mixed reactions from everybody who heard that I was writing about it, that, you know, you shouldn't do it, you should hire security, you should do all kinds of
Exactly.
warnings were given to me. But by the grace of God and I think the blessing of my parents, I think Kasturba has been very well received. And not only like in the cosmopolitan cities, but I was so amazed that in Ahmedabad, where I have been twice, went once to the Marathi Lit Fest, just 2 months after it was released. And I was there last week for a program. Ahmedabad has given me such an astounding reaction. I've had people write to me and tell me that thank you for writing about Kasturba.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yes, I think that, you know, it was the right time. I think we were ready to listen to Kasturba's voice. And I feel that not only was the time right, but it was a time to rectify the injustice which was done to Kasturba.
Okay, so what is it about Kasturba that has really touched you the most? I mean, what is it about her character that you wish to bring out in the book?
Well, for a start, I think that the most tormenting, the most heart-wrenching thing for a woman is to be not able to prevent her child from going to seed. So Kasturba is this param, what do you call it, pativrata Hindu nari, the quintessential Indian woman, and this devoted wife, and this stricken mother, I call her, because she is not able to correct the conduct of her husband. She's not able to prevent his cruelty to the child, and she's not able to prevent the child from going to seed. So to me, and more so because it resonates with some scars in my life, because I don't know if you know this, but my father had 6 wives, and we are 18 siblings out of 6 wives. And I'm very proud to say that I'm the 4th child and the most rebellious one of his youngest wife, who was my mother. So yes, we had a dysfunctional family. We had a difficult childhood. My mother was in a way a single parent. We grew up in absentia. I didn't have a father who was there like normal fathers to hold my hand when I was hurt or I was, in pain or anything. So we didn't have a life like a normal father. So to me, because I emoted with Kasturba, I saw my mother's torment in her and my mother's conflict with her husband, very similar to Kasturba's conflict with Gandhiji. And in a very, very big way, I saw myself as Harilal. I saw myself as this child who is crying to get the attention of the father and who is suffering discrimination in reverse, because Gandhiji was the father to everybody else except to his own children. And he had immense love. He had embraced the whole world as his family. But he had this peculiar kind of tyrannical behavior to his wife and to his child. So I think the quality of Kasturba, which has really brutalized me, or the part of her life, is her role as the mother of her 4 children.
So, what kind of picture have you painted about Gandhi? I mean, could you please give us some instances of his tyrannical ways with the mother and the child, with his family?
See, even though I say tyrannical, I have to tell you that I have not tried to demonize Gandhiji. I have not. I deeply revere Gandhiji, the freedom fighter and the social reformer and the crusader for freedom and everything. I deeply revere him. But Gandhiji, the father, and Gandhiji, the husband, it's a duality in his life. They're 2 different people. And some of the incidents, well, one which straight away comes to my mind is that he didn't allow his children to study. There was this, yes, he was totally against them getting any kind of formal education, and so much so that Harilal, who was absolutely obsessed with the idea, Harilal, of course, the eldest son, who wanted to do law in England, so not only did he deny him an education, but he also denied him the privilege of a scholarship which one of Gandhiji's companions, Pranlal Mehta, had given him, specifically for his children. A scholarship to study law in England, and Gandhiji did not give it to Harilal, and he gave it to one of the other ashram inmates' children. So I think that was, and I didn't end there, that child who was given that scholarship, I mean, Harilal was wrecked. He was devastated because he kept feeling that what is it about him that he deserves it and I don't deserve it. And that scholarship was specifically given to Gandhiji. Of course, at the back of his mind, he had this feeling that nobody should accuse him of nepotism and he should not favor his family. But he took it to such a manic level of not trying to favor his children that he caused deep psychological damage to them. So this boy who was given that scholarship, he went to England for 2 years and then he came back because he couldn't complete the studies. And at that time, Harilal begs him. And he says, okay, now give me the scholarship because it was still valid. And he said, now I can go. And even then, Gandhiji chose to give it to another Parsi boy who lived in the ashram. And he sent him instead. So that was the beginning of the breakdown of their relationship. Harilal left the ashram and went away. And there are many instances, which is, of course, the way I write, is there an internal dialogue and Kasturba's musings, where she talks to herself all the time. And she says that sometimes I had begun to believe that maybe Harilal would have been better off if he was not your child. So that is one of them. And there is another very heart-breaking incident in which Gandhiji's second son, Manilal was 20 years old, and they're in this ashram in Johannesburg. And so they had a very austere routine in the ashram, and everybody had to do their own work, and they had like a 2-hour leisure period in the morning. So there was a little stream that ran through the ashram, and everybody could go there and play there, and it was their recreation time. So Manilal had developed an infatuation for this girl called Lalita. And she was also the daughter of one of the inmates, one of the ashramites. And so, like a 20-year-old is wont to with, developing sexual stirrings and this inclination towards this girl, they were playing in the pool in the river 1 or 2 times, and he used to, they were seen fondling each other, which is just the normal what young teenagers would do. So everybody noticed that, but nobody said anything to them. And one day, as luck would have it, he was inside the water. And by mistake, he touched one of the other girls, thinking that it was Lalita. And so she just was absolutely appalled by that. And she was shocked by his behavior. And she went running to Bapu and she said, complained about him. That yesterday he was with Lalita and today he tried to fondle me. And she was very upset. So Bapu summoned Manilal, and Manilal knew that that today is going to be a day of reckoning. And so they were both there. He entered the room, and both these girls were sitting on the floor beside Bapu, and they were both crying. And Bapu had this really horribly grim expression there. And so to cut a long story short, he asked him, so what happened? And tell me, what is it that has made you sinned? You see, to us millennials, as we call, what was the sin in that? he's a child. It's natural for, you know, boys and girls of that age to interact and have sexual inclinations or infatuations with each other. Anyway, so he fell down to his knees and he said, "Forgive me." And so Bapu, in his usual style of self-flagellation, said that I have sinned and I have done something wrong, and what is it that I have done in my upbringing of you, and I am going to go on penance and I'm going to fast, which was his usual way of penacing. And I have been through this many times in my life, because in those days, this was a done thing. Our elders, and my mother did it very often, they played games with food. So every time she was angry with us, she would stop eating. So it was like punishing herself to punish us. And I was the most horribly rebellious, terrible teenager. And I used to say कि आपके खाने से नहीं खाने से आपको तकलीफ होगी, हमको क्या तकलीफ होगी? Anyway, so coming back to Gandhiji Singh, so both these boys are crying, these two girls are crying, and Manilal is crying, and no, Bapu, don't. And the girls are saying, no, you punish us and don't punish yourself. And this little dialogue is happening. And Manilal goes on saying that, no, you punish me and don't go on a fast. I will go on a fast of penance. So he says, but I need to know, so what is it that made you indulge in this sin? We need to nip this sin in the bud. What is it? So he says, Bapu, it was her hair. So that girl had beautiful long hair, and he said, I just could not help myself. I was bewitched by her hair. So he said, so we need to bewitch this, we need to nip this in the bud. He said, get me a pair of scissors. And a pair of scissors was brought there, and in 2 minutes he had shorn both the girls of their locks. And in about 5 minutes, Kasturba enters that room and she sees these 3 children crying, and she sees that hair on the floor, and she bundles them out of the room, and she turns back and she looks at him in deep anger, and she says, have you forgotten what you were at the age of 20? All you could think of was sex. So this is one of the incidents which has really brutalized me, because I feel that, you know, cutting off hair is the worst kind of penalty that you can give, or kind of punishment that you can give anybody. They do it to the widows. They do it to, you know, the backward and the Dalits. Even now they suffer this kind of humiliation. When the upper castes want to humiliate them, they shave off their heads and they strip them of their clothes. And it is such an awful method of stripping a woman of her honor, of her beauty. You know, to me, my hair is so utterly important that the day my hair is not looking nice, I'd rather not go out than go with, like we call it, the bad hair day. So this brutalizing, this cutting off of hair, this kind of tyranny, you know, it amazed me that how could a person who has lived his life on the tenets of truth and brahmacharya and non-violence had heaped this kind of emotional violence on those 2 nubile innocent girls and that boy. And so as a result, Manilal was banished from the ashram for 12 years. He was told that you have to go away and you have to take a vow of celibacy for 12 years, which he did.
Right, so that was really bad.
It was a very brutalizing incident, yeah.